I run 118 Airbnb listings. Look for the traditional rental yields in that area, multiply it by 2, and that's something that you will earn if you are on Airbnb. I do about 5 crore worth of revenue.
If you want a second home in a farm somewhere, I would recommend something like this. I don't think a normal apartment would fetch so much of income. After the expenses, we still have like an 80% margin.
So I bought my first apartment in Whitefield. It was a 2 BHK apartment. That's where passive income is something that I thought of, that a typical long-term rental yield is a passive income. And soon I realized that a traditional residential rental yield was not even 2-3% annually, which was not even taking care of my EMIs. That's where I started doing Airbnb. As I said, the first month I would say was too good to be true, because when I listed my property, the first week itself we got the month booking, and I could get the EMI plus profits of that apartment in the first booking itself. Typical 2 BHK in Whitefield that time used to get about 15,000 rupees a month as a rental yield. This was for a typical long-term rental. Whereas in the first month, the Airbnb that I listed my property on helped me get about 48,000 rupees in that month. But this was a revenue. And then after that, all the expenses had to be get in. So it was easily 2x of the revenue. Post expenses money that I made compared to a traditional rental.
So this property we have leased for a long term, this specifically to run service apartment business or Airbnb. It's a 4 BHK bungalow with the ground floor has living area, dining area, kitchen and 1 bedroom. And first floor is having being 2 bedrooms, and the second floor having only 1 bedroom with attached private terrace.
On an average, it will cost around 13 lakhs per annum, you can say. It costed us around 15 to 18 lakhs to set up the entire place, and this was including the interiors, the deposit, and the initial setup which we did.
Per room cost, if you want to take, like it was around 2 to 2.5 lakhs.
Over a period of time, we got more bookings, and we had we used to interact with every guest and ask them for their experiences or the feedback, like if there is anything missing in the room so we can add on. And that's how we slowly kept on adding the amenities or the elements, and it went on.
With the Airbnb bookings for initial 6 months, I was too confident that this can be scaled, and hence I bought another apartment in the same building. That also started getting good number of bookings. But then with those kind of bookings in the society, I came in the limelight that there is some commercial activity, some serviced apartment / guest house being run in the property. That's the time where the society objected for me running short-term rentals there. Hence I sold those off and then bought an independent unit after that. So the first apartment that I bought to do Airbnb business was for 48 lakhs. I ran it for almost a year till the society objected me running Airbnbs, and then I sold it for some 60 or 62 lakhs. Second property which I had bought for 60 lakh rupees, that also I sold it within a year's time. And that I sold it for 65 lakh rupees. Then after that, the independent building that I bought had 8 2 BHK apartments. So every floor had 2 apartments, and it was a 4-story building. Because it was an independent unit, all 8 units belonged to me. I could have a full-time staff staying at the same property. I did not have any restriction from neighbors that I should do this, I should not do this. And because all apartments were Airbnbs there, even the guest was very comfortable that this is not something that that we are staying in a society where someone would object to stay here. Today I run 118 Airbnb listings. Out of 118, 18 number of properties are owned by me, and about 100 properties are on lease on different models. It could be revenue sharing, it could be fixed rental, management fee, and that's how I manage a portfolio of about 118 right now. You ask me, today we are running at 100% occupancy, but then if you ask me for the entire year kind of occupancy, we run anywhere about 70-80%, which is considered to be a very good occupancy percentage. Today as a company, I do about 5 crore worth of revenue turnover on yearly basis. As I told, a company makes anywhere around 20-25% as profits. Because I was in Whitefield, there were a lot of tech parks around it. There were a lot of upcoming tech parks around it. I think there was a lot of inflow of MNCs, good companies in this area, and that's what I feel boosted my occupancy in my Airbnbs.
Koramangala is one of the prime location in Bangalore and in the center of the city. So that was an added advantage, and that's why we decided to start in Koramangala because we already stayed there for 2 years. For the first month when we started, it was 50% of occupancy, and since then I think it is on an average 85%. So the revenue for the first month it was approximately 1 lakh, and from the second month onwards, on an average it is 1.8 to 2 lakhs.
So in terms of annual yield, a 2 BHK owner can expect anywhere close to anywhere between 7.5 lakh to 9 lakh kind of a yearly yield from a fully furnished 2 BHK apartment today in Bangalore. For passive income, the ownership model works because you actually bank on the property appreciation over a long period of time. Unlike any other business, Airbnb is the only business where you get loans very easily because this is a housing loan. When you take a loan to buy a property, you take the loan on today's cost of the property, whereas the property appreciates over a period of time. Now, your banker is not concerned about how much the property has appreciated. After 10 or 15 years, when you look at the EMI component of a property, it is very minimum, right? Whereas the property which has appreciated is way higher than the EMI that you are paying. Whereas in operator model, it is more to do with getting cash flows and keep the business running.
I think we have not considered buying the property, but if you ask us, I feel that both has their own consequences,
Pros and
like
cons.
pros and cons. Yeah. So if you are buying the property, so definitely you have a lot of flexibility. You can run the Airbnb as per your requirements. There is no restrictions and other things, but it involves a high risk because you are buying a property. You need a lot of initial investment, and also if it doesn't run, maybe because of the location or some other things, you have already purchased the property, so it's a high risk and you cannot back out at that moment. And when you rent a property, I think you get a lot of flexibility. Even if it doesn't work in that particular location or because of any of the reason, you can always back out and try something else.
I think even before getting into buying a property for doing Airbnb business, all the easy ways of personal finance, which could be investing in mutual funds, having stocks, having the emergency fund, everything has to be first sorted. Next could be your own house, and then comes the property investment. Airbnb, if you love meeting people, if you love interacting people, if you love hospitality as such, that's where you should enter into the business, not purely from the ROI perspective. If you want to start a passive income stream through Airbnb, the first thing, the easiest thing for someone would be to look out for a property which is at a walking distance from his current place of residence. If you happen to get a property next door, nothing like it, where the resources can be shared. You need not have to employ people to look after the check-in, check-out and everything. So look for properties which are very close to where you live, and I think that's the easiest way to start. A 1 BHKs typically get good amount of bookings. 2 BHKs are preferred by families. 4 BHKs get bookings, but mostly on the weekends, and these are more for groups traveling together. But if you ask me, if someone has to buy a property only for Airbnb today, I think 1 and 2 BHK should be an ideal bet. A typical 2 BHK, the easiest way to calculate or to know how much you are going to earn through Airbnb is look for the traditional rental yields in that area, multiplied by 2, and that's something that you will earn if you are on Airbnb.
We started with a lower price. I think we started with somewhere around 17 to 1800. The reason was, first of all, we didn't have any reviews, like it was zero, and usually the people who use Airbnb, they tend to check the reviews and then take a risk of booking the place. So that was one of the reason. And second thing, we also wanted the occupancy to be maintained. So we just started increasing the price slowly and steadily. Like I think we started with 1700, 1800, then 2000, 2200, and that's how we came up to 2500 now, to 2.5 to 3K.
So how to price your property on Airbnb? What should be your per night tariff on Airbnb? The easiest way is when you list your property on Airbnb, Airbnb will give you a range that Airbnb feels that your property should be ranged between say 3000 to 5000 rupees a night, where you can decide. At the end of the day, your customer will give you the feedback based on the occupancy that your property is having, that whether you are priced right or not. If your property is booked for the entire month, all 30 nights in a month, then you may assume that you are priced low. Whereas if you are not getting any booking or you are not getting any inquiries, then possibly you are priced very high, and it's time for you to change your pricing strategy. So in a operator model where we take the property on rent from someone, the major component goes towards rent, which is 50 to 55%. Around 10% of our revenues go into manpower. So that comes to 65%. Another 10% goes into the operations of the property. Around 5% goes into miscellaneous, and 20% is something that is left with us. In the ownership model, around 60 to 65% of the money of the revenue goes in EMI, I would say, and rest calculations remains the same. The net profit that remains is comparatively less if you compare it with a subleasing model or operator model. But honestly, for one or two apartments, it can be run very passively with very minimal time investment of yours, because most of the things can be managed, because you don't need a full-time staff. You need a maybe your own housemaid can do the housekeeping for you. Check-in, check-out can be managed very conveniently through Logbox.
We have employed two. One is full time, another is a part time,
Part-time.
who take care about general cleaning, room cleaning, check-in.
As he said, like initial setup takes some time, where we used to work, finish our day job, and then post office hours used to be like setting up the place, and even the weekend. So 2 months were a little hectic, but post that I think it is very easy to manage.
So currently, the areas that are doing wonderful in terms of rental yields, Airbnb yields in Bangalore are typically Indiranagar, Koramangala, Whitefield, even Electronic City. If someone is looking to build an Airbnb business, or in fact trying to build something as passive source of income on a long-term basis, I think North Bangalore is way more safer, because the area is developing right now. The property prices are comparatively affordable compared to Indiranagar and Koramangala of Bangalore, and hence the rental yield over a period of time would be at par with any commercial hub of Bangalore. In fact, before COVID, I was running Airbnbs remotely at holiday destinations as well, including Goa. But the difference that I find running the Airbnbs at holiday destination versus the business destinations like Bangalore is the repeatability of a customer. In Bangalore, we get a lot of repeat business. It is because people in Bangalore, they are not very brand conscious. They just look for a property which is very close to their office and they book. One time they book, they like the property. Next time is no brainer that they are going to book you. In holiday destination, the repeatability of a customer is less. If he likes your property, he will give you a 5-star review. But next time, he might not come at the same property, because at a holiday destination, they are looking for different experience every time. At the end of the day, it's the customer acquisition cost that matters in terms of increasing our profitability. But real estate, because I've done it at multiple places, the rental yields adjust itself. Some months somewhere might sound very lucrative, but overall it remains the same.
The area where my houses are located it's about 10 kilometers before you reach Sarjapur. If people are aware of HSR layout, this is about 20 to 25 minutes away from it. The first property that we put up on Airbnb is this property that you see behind me. This was an experimental design that we did to create a new design within our portfolio. And we added along a pond and all of that. The second property is the first home that we built. I happened to make this just before COVID, got the opportunity of living in it through my entire lockdown. That's when we realized that we might have been onto something. These houses are dismantleable. So what that means is you can make the house bigger, smaller. You can dismantle them into their smallest of pieces, and you can reuse about 75 to 80% of it. So last month was the first month that we tried with this. We've hit a little bit more than a lakh out of this unit. We had close to 65 to 70% occupancy on this. It's actually shocked us because we were expecting to get maybe 5 or 6 bookings the entire month, and we were primarily focusing on weekends, but to our surprise we've been getting weekdays as well. We are still to start functioning with the other unit as well. The other unit's priced almost double to what this is. After the expenses, we still have like an 80% margin from what we make in terms of revenue. Once this place is fully functional, between the two properties here, I would want to earn between 2 to 2.5 lakhs a month. I don't think a normal apartment would fetch so much of income unless it's like, in the heart of the city where you're surrounded by lots of happening spots. If you have a different business plan where if you say that you have 50 Airbnb points and they're going to be priced very economically, and it's just a place for people to come and have some shut-eye, that might work as well. But if you're going to try and make an impact with 1 or 2 or 3 properties, I would put a lot of pressure on the fact that you need to make it with the experience in mind rather than just 4 walls. The first house was an experiment. I think I spent a little over 35 to 36 lakhs. So this house right behind me covers square footage of 300 square feet, and it's sold for 17.5 lakhs plus taxes and transportation. By and large, you're looking at somewhere between 3,000 to 4,000 rupees per square foot. Our aim was to sort of make these houses in a fraction of the time that it takes to create a traditional home. This house could be done in about 25 days. If you want to build a mansion that you know for certain that you're never going to move in the next 100 years and you want a legacy around it and you have the time to construct it, I would recommend people to do it the traditional way. This is for people who are a little bit more upbeat and who are a little bit more on the go, right? Like if you want a second home in a farm somewhere, I would recommend something like this. Building something on Airbnb is not going to be the hard part. The hard part is finding the right balance between the experience that people want to have versus the distance they have to travel versus the amount of money they have to pay. Like, for example, if I had this property 50 kilometers outside of Bangalore, regardless if the pond was bigger, even the house was bigger, I wouldn't get the same occupancy that I'm getting right now. If you have any parcel of land, say within city limits, and you can invest a little bit of money to create a great experience around it, I would say go for it.
Thank you for watching and supporting our channel. If you like the stories we tell, here's your chance to be a part of it. If you or anybody you know has an interesting financial journey to share, then please fill the form in the pinned comment below and we'll get in touch with you.